Hi there, welcome back. If this is your first flip through you're seeing today, you may want to go back one and find the introduction for the Red Edith journal. It has a more detailed explanation of how I came up with the idea of doing two journals using the ephemera that I could create and collect out of The Edwardian Lady, which is the biography of Edith Holden, who painted and wrote the Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady, which most of us in the junk journal world adore. So this book I have been affectionately calling Grungy Edith because it's a little bit messier. The lace is torn and worn, and it's got more rags in it. And I imagine that this is the kind of book she might have thrown into her painter's bag, her canvas tote, and headed off to the fields to do some fresh air painting, some plein air painting. And this book itself was one of my favorite books on my shelf. I still have the text block for it because it's full of wonderful, wonderful pages. And it was originally printed, let's see, in 1948. So it's old, it's vintage, but it's not quite antique. You'll see the tie here that I made. I created rags that I imagined she might have had taken with her when she was out painting for various reasons. Artists will use rags to wipe their brushes or to dab if they've put too much watercolor paint down on their paper. So I tore them up and sewed them together and backed it a bit just to make sure it was extra strong on some more of the cotton, and created a tie out of it for Grungy Edith because she was getting a little alligatory. Again, it has a journal plate on it, but this the Edith's All Sorts book title is removable. You can take that out and rename it. Just flip it over, rename it whatever you like. This is a painting that Edith did, I believe, for her friend Belle, and she gave it to her as a wedding gift. And I have mounted it onto a slightly thicker cardstock. There's some brads just for some little detail, and some tea-dyed cheesecloth that I purposefully wrinkled and made look grungy. Now, I love the spine on this book, and it's hard to fit it all in. I'm going to do it like that, but I'll have to move it back and forth. Whoever previously owned this book loved this book and used it a lot, so I had to reinforce the top, the head and the foot, and I used lace to do that. And I put some cheesecloth hanging out the top. I like that, but if you don't like it, it's very easy to just trim it really close, and you can get rid of that, or you can shorten it if you like. Very simple to do. One of the few places where, again, I borrowed a label from my Tim Holtz collection because I thought botanical was quite appropriate for Edith's art book, and I also thought it was appropriate that this book was The Magic of Gardening, or pardon me, The Manual of Gardening Magic. I need to get that right. And so it just makes sense that a sketchbook of hers would be in a garden book. And there again is her signature that I found in the text block of The Edwardian Lady, and I've used some faux cellophane tape as if she taped that across there in case the book got left in the field behind by accident. All of us artists who take a book out to go paint in make sure that we have our please return to inside our books. It's a big book. I measured it in the first go look, but it's big. This is the original end page for this book, and I just love it, and it needed to go back in the book. I add a little bit of lace. There's a vintage doily here that I created a pocket, and here's the second E. So these sister books really are sister books. And a little bit of old silk ribbon and a little rusty safety pin holding it down. And inside I have made a faux cabinet card of Edith's friend Bella, but she often referred to her as Belle. There's many, many postcards and letters that she wrote to Belle in The Edwardian Lady, and I get the impression they were very dear friends. So I have made that into a faux cabinet card, and I've tucked that in there. Here's the original first page from Out of the Edwardian Lady. This is a tuck spot, so if you did want to put something in there, you could. And a painting that she did of a squirrel. Here's Edith at her easel painting. She was so pretty. And so on this side of the page, I did a little bit of stamping. This is a tuck spot. Again, there were very few little pieces of color from this text block. It was mostly in shades of browns and beiges like this. And I just tried my best to find ways of using all the color that I could and adding bits of color that I felt were not breaking my own rules that I imposed on myself. Here's the original first page from the text block of this green book, and you can see here it's from 1948. A little text page from a book that was gifted to me, and it's a tuck spot, and I made a postcard from out of the text block. This is from a vintage typing manual that I Frankensteined together to become a journaling page. On this page here, it's tea-dyed. It's a book I have. It's a 10-year gardening diary. That crash you heard was the baby gate that keeps my puppy here in my room. So I'm going to pause for a moment and go see what's going on with my very busy puppy. Hold on. All is well. It just fell over. I made a little tab here and added a little dangle from a necklace I found at a thrift store and took apart. And I had some fun with a ribbon that a friend gave to me. And again, in behind here, I made use of those few pages that were out of the country diary that are included in the text block, and just made a little tab to stick out there. More ledger paper, some more sewn together paper. This book especially, because it's so big, there's a lot of Frankensteining in it. And again, paper that was gifted to me generously that I just love. Another tab here, making use of the watercolored paper and some lace. And I've put a little locket on here. And if you open it up, there is a tiny little flower that Edith drew. Now this picture, I couldn't find one small enough in the original text block, so that's actually a relative of Queen Victoria. It's either her son or her grandson, I forget. But the locket, I couldn't leave it empty, so we're going to use our imaginations that it was someone very special to Edith. Perhaps it was her husband Ernest. On this page here, I've again done another flip out so that you can journal on this side. And this is her marriage registration. Again, I aged that myself using distress inks and faux cellophane tape to make it look older. In the text block, you'll see it looks practically brand new because it must have been ordered from the Registrar General by the publisher when they made the book. A little picture tucked in here. I wanted half of it in another place, but I didn't want to waste this half. And this is the town of Moseley where she was born. This picture was taken in 1892, so I wrote that on in white ink. so that you'll know what that is. This is from out of the original text block of this gardening manual. Some fussy cutting here from out of the Edwardian Lady, and a little bit of stenciling on the corners. Here's some of the kind of artwork that we don't see in the Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady that we do get to see in the Edwardian Lady. So I made a tuck spot out of that, and I just put in some little doodads for you to use when you create journaling things. Some pages out of a book I have on butterflies of England. I created a journaling card out of a watercolor she did of swallows. Isn't that gorgeous? And backed it with some vintage composition paper. And this bulldog clip, again, it's new. I've rusted it to look old. Tea-dyed ledger paper. Here is a drawing. Edith apparently didn't do it, or did she? No, I don't see it there. You know what? I can't say for sure. I forget. My world is a blur of Edith Holden right now. You'll have to check the original book and find out. But it's a tuck spot, and I've filled it with the back of a postcard, and I used a blank area from out of the text block to back it with. Again, making use of what I could. I tore this page by accident, so I fixed it with faux cellophane tape. It's a tip out, and this handsome gentleman is from somewhere in the book, and this is, I believe, a painting she did of either the Trethorns' house or Belle's house. You'll have to check. But I thought he looked rather casual there, leaning on the house. And I wrapped it around because it was a big picture. So I just wrapped it around, and it opens up for more journaling space. Little tuck spot here on this music, and it's from, I can't see, I'm gonna have to read it on the other side. This again was from the dust jacket, and I just turned it into a journaling card, but you can make it into a pocket. I thought it was kind of appropriate because it's got a nest, and here's some little chicks that she drew, and a little bit of lace and some sewing. Again, cut off the threads. If you're not a dangling thread kind of person, trim them off. Little tuck spot here that I've used some of the watery color text block paper. And just a little bit of a ruffle made from the watercolor rag. This little tab here from a piece of lace, and again another little dangle with some little sparkly broken up necklace pieces. Page out of a map. So many pages are similar to each book. I've just used them to fit the different sizes. This is some watercolor, actual watercolor paper that I've used to make a tuck spot and to add a bit of color, and I like how it matches the map. And you'll be getting some of that to go home with you. I had leftovers, so that will go home with this book. This book is from 1950, a book on how to draw. I made a pocket out of the text block from the Edwardian Lady, and I just pretended that it was one of her test papers for testing to see if the shade was just right, and did a little bit of collaging. There's the other half of the town of Moseley there, and some stitching around it, and then a large journaling card there, and of course a Two Nanas bookmark. And this one is the red one, so that the green book has the red Two Nanas and the red book has the green one. I liked using the artist's books in here. I forget which sister this is, so you'll have to look it up. But it's a tuck spot. I grunged up this lace and wove some ribbon through it and fussy cut a little clover and put that down there. Again, a little bit of the writing that was in the book and backed it with a little bit of the color that was in the book. Here's a tiny little tuck spot, so I put a journaling card that I created from one of the illustrations in there. And again, whale tail tab made from one of the pages. This page is from a book printed in 1949 on how to draw. An old file folder. I liked that it had numbers on it. She was a teacher for a little short while, so I just imagined that maybe she had file folders for her students, and I liked that it had numbers up here. On this side, I did a little collaging with some of her writing and a bit of fabric, and again, some purposefully grunged up lace. And I created a pocket out of one of her letters that she wrote to one of her students. Such a sweet letter. And then there's a picture here of a sculptress that worked with Ernest in his studio because he was also an artist, her husband. There's a total of... last count, 220 pages in this book, and I'm not sure whether I said that or not. A little tuck spot on this side as well, so I used some of the leftover offcuts and just made a little notepad and made a little whale tail tab out of one of her sketches. Some vintage ledger paper, a little collage here with a tab, and this is actually what I cut off of this grungy lace in order to make that lace grungy. So I made use of it, didn't waste anything. And this can also be a tuck spot. I forget what year this page is from. Early 1900s. It's from a reckoner. Some tea-dyed steno paper. 1948 for this music paper. This is from that mushroom book again, and it is 1901. I apologize for the lighting. If I turn my overhead lighting on, it's too bright, but if I turn it off, I'm not getting quite enough light from my window today, so I apologize. Some paper that I received as a happy gift. I love all the Frankensteining. Sometimes it's a lucky accident when you have a book that's too big and you have to start finding creative ways to make larger pages. Here again I made a pocket from watercolored pieces of the original text block from the Edwardian Lady, and then I've made a journaling card from one of her drawings from The Friend. And again, this is the Reckoner. I'll try my best to find the date for that. I have it in a book over here, and I'll write it down in pencil. And if you get the book and it doesn't have the date, you message me, and I'll find it for you if I happen to forget. Up here, I've used some of the watercolor paper, and I used a little bit of Edith's handwriting to put a word snippet up there that says clover, and a little bit of lace and a stamp. Just for fun, a little stenciling here. Page out of a 1959, I believe it was a botanical dictionary. I could be wrong. Up here, I added just a little lace corner, so I added a little bauble of a green stone from a bracelet I took apart. And then again, here is the corner of one of the pages from the Country Diary. I'm not so sure that this is actually page 79 in this case. This is page 80. Again, it's just fun to make use of it. Why throw it into my recycle bin? When Edith wrote the number, it makes me happy. This is a tuck spot, again, from one of her pictures of dragonflies and the blacksmith shop in the town she was in at the time. And some more of the rags that has watercolor on it. Here is the sister earring to the one that's in the red book, and I added some tattered lace that looks almost like it might have been off of a bridal gown, and I used red ribbon as a tribute to the red book, the sister book to this, and I like how that turned out. And I sewed it in by hand. I glued it on first and then I hand sewed it just to make it look a little more authentic. Little tab here just for fun. You can put what you wish on the top there. This is from a vintage ledger book. I forget what year. I believe it's the 1940s. This is some old school composition paper, French school composition paper that I received as a gift, and just some index cards sewn on to make more use. This is from a music book on learning how to play the organ. This was in the original text block for the Manual of Gardening Magic. So that's why there's photographs, color photographs in this book. I loved them. They were already in the book and it was already glued on to this page like a plate, and I just left it be. But you can see what I mean by this book had some really nice drawings in it. And it was just the perfect book to use to create Grungy Edith. Another pocket that I made using the original text block from the Edwardian Lady. And I just added a little bird down here and a little flower with a leaf. Here's a poem that Edith wrote for her friend Belle for her birthday in, I believe it was 1907, 1906. And there it says, Fair Belle. And then this is one of the newspaper clippings about her tragic death, where she drowned accidentally in the Thames. Far too young. We lost her too young. She was in her late 40s when she drowned. This is from a welder's manual, but I like that it was, it looks like it's manually typed. A little bit of lace on this last page. I created a tuck spot because this is the original end paper. I had to find a way to cover the wing from this text block, and by doing that I just created a tuck spot. And it's gusseted so that you can fit a lot in it, and I used some word snippets. So this says Nature Notes and the other one says Garden. This one can flip, and it has some acetate here that I've yellowed, and this is from the text block from this green book. I hope this isn't sounding too mixy-uppy when I'm referring to two different text blocks that I used. But it's a journaling spot now, so, and you can put that wherever you like. I put it in there so that you know that this acetate is here so that you can tuck things in there. And then this is a page also from out of this actual book, and a little butterfly that was from the dust jacket from the Edwardian Lady. And I made a little file folder, and there's some children. The Holden family used to have children. They used to sponsor children to come in to get out of the city and spend a day in the country. And there's a few pictures in the book of such visits from the city children. And what I did was I created just a little thing that you can tuck little things in, and there's a few more of these little drawings that are throughout the book, so you can glue those wherever you like in the book. I forget who this handsome gentleman is. It's not Arthur, but I believe it's a friend of Ernest's, her husband. And then this is one of her little sketches down here. So, and it says letters home, that I fussy cut out of the original text block. This is just one of my tea-dyed envelopes, and I did some fussy cutting and borrowed a Tim Holtz label. This, I believe, is Evelyn when she was little. Yes, that's one of the few ones that I did add who it is. And making a poster for an upcoming event. So I thought Evelyn looked good peeking through that window. And then there's another pocket here from the watercolor text block from the Edwardian Lady. So I just tucked a doily in there for you to use, and let's put that Rolodex in there too. So this is a nice big spot. Because it's gusseted, you can fit a lot in there, and these don't have to stay there if you don't want them to. And again, I've put my little logo down here and signed and dated it. So it has my CABC down there, and 2023. So that is Grungy Edith. So I hope you can tell there's a little bit of a difference between this Edith and this Edith, but that they complement each other and in a way go together, but in a way are very different. So thank you for joining me for these flip throughs. And if you're interested in either one of these books, I will be listing them in my Etsy shop later today. Today is Saturday, June 3rd, and I'm hoping to have them listed in my Etsy shop by about 5:30 p.m. New York time. So I will confirm that in the comments down below, and I'll also confirm it by posting over on my Instagram shop. So thanks for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you enjoyed these flip-throughs. If you haven't seen the red one, again, I hope you'll go over and take a look, because I explain better how I came about creating these two books using the contents from one book. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.